Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, welcome back, and fellow TikTok enthusiasts. Welcome to episode number, I believe, 32 of the TikTok Dark Dimension series, a series where I, Chris Allen, go over what is wrong with our world, which is plentiful, and I'm here to convince people that no matter how hard you really believe, not all your dreams will come true. So, anyway, I'm also here to prove that I'm right in saying these things and that other people are wrong and to gloat. But anyway, I just ate a shit ton of curry and I am full as fuck. So I actually won't be munching down on food that much. I still have emergency food in front of me, which if you play Genshin, I don't have Paimon. But I do have some leftover pork that I made yesterday. So in case I do get hungry, because we do go rather long for these, I do have something to chomp on. But regardless, we should be pretty content belly-wise, but not information-wise, because we're here to learn. We're here to learn how fucked up things are, and with some slight tinges of comedy in between. So anyway, without further ado, I would say we begin. But before we begin, I just want to point out we are actually less than a month behind at this point. If we gave it maybe actually wait, are we less than a month behind? What did this video come out? This came out 7/20. Okay, so when I sent it to myself is not when it came out, I'll tell you that. But we're about a month behind, if not a little less than a month, and I know that for sure. I believe I sent this to myself on the 10th, but I don't remember. But anyway, that means we are getting closer, and over time I have been sending myself less stuff, so it's all good. And I guess I'll put this in the beginning as well as the end. If you guys want to send me anything at all, please send it to my main TikTok account, which is where I send the TikToks for this account, which is Tecnics. You could send me Dark Dimension stuff on Tecnics. If you think it's depressing, if you think it shows the true state of the world where there's more bad than good, you could send to me there, and I might include it here if I think it's worthy. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started into the videos because we're going to be here for a nice little bit.
Let me show you why nobody trusts the media. The last
Why?
couple
I
years, a
certainly
lot of us
don't.
have lived through a little something called inflation, where
Whoa.
everything has gotten more expensive.
Because
And
of
naturally, we
idiocy.
want to figure out why. A lot of
Because
us
the
had this
rich
gut
people.
feeling that it was corporate greed, corporations raising their prices and ripping us off.
I believe
aka
it's that.
greedflation.
Oh,
Now, in
yes.
response to this theory,
And I just want to put forward here, I really feel like this is true because this is where during COVID, when companies were losing money, quote unquote, you know what companies were losing money? You know what businesses were losing money? The small to maybe the medium businesses, the medium sized to small sized businesses, they were losing money. The small ones just went under straight up. The medium ones kind of got like, a stab in the gut. The large ones literally cut costs by firing people or simply raising their prices when they didn't need to. Because at the end of the day, these big corporations make billions upon billions of dollars. So it's not like they're gonna really be struggling out here if they make 9 billion instead of 11 billion. That's a difference of 2 billion, which is to us unfathomable. But to these companies, it's like, another year of business, right? That's where these are profits, these are extra. These are not cutting into like, what their costs are. Or maybe it is, I'm not too sure actually, but regardless, they're making billions, right? So it's not like they're in the negatives where they have to rely on the reserves of the money they have, which is mountains. No, this is literally just how much they make, and they're making slightly less, but still in the billions. So I think, of course, greedflation is a thing. But let's see what this gentleman has to say.
the mainstream media deemed greedflation to be fake, nonsense, a witch hunt.
Yeah, and this is where, again, the media, as we've seen multiple times, because I'm going to say, always what I say, 90% of this video is going to be the same shit I always say. We've seen multiple times the media talk bad about stuff that's good, that makes sense, because it threatens the status quo. It threatens the current reality and society of things. Which, in the current reality and society, the rich get richer and no one else really benefits. Especially not the middle class. The middle class is the one that gets it the worst.
Even a conspiracy theory. And then the tapes came out where a bunch of CEOs were caught on tape bragging about raising prices just because they could.
Yeah, because then they have monopolies because everything is owned by like a few people or a few corporations or businesses.
We want to make sure that we're not leaving any pricing on the table. We'll take as much pricing as the consumer can absorb.
Bro, that's legit evil.
If we need to take more pricing, we have room to do it. Today,
Crazy.
you see no
And you know what's sad? That's the CEO of Chipotle. I eat Chipotle and they raise their fucking prices, these fuckers. And you know what's crazy? Chipotle is considered to be on the cheaper side too, because the quality isn't that good. A lot of people get sick from Chipotle and sue them. And you know why Chipotle can keep getting sued? It's because they keep getting money. And it's actually cheaper for them to get sued than to raise the quality. Think about that. Think about what a fucked up dark dimension that is.
resistance from our customers. I'm really pleased our sales teams have gotten much better at pricing than ever in the history of the company.
Ever in the history of the company, bro. Yo, whoever leaks these probably like got killed and their family, but God, did they do a service? But the question is, did they really do a service? Because will people do anything about this? No. I can't believe we live in a society where we will actively see these things, right? Which, you know, at this point, I kind of question, are they AI generated? We'll never really know going in the future. But for now, I think we could tell if it's AI or not, at least still. But this is where, you know, people will actively know that these rich people are doing these fucked up things and just won't do anything. Our founding fathers are probably turning in their graves saying, this is not what we fought for. This is not the country we wanted to create. This is worse than King fucking George and his greed. Like, if our founding fathers were alive, they would start another revolution. I'm almost sure of it.
We're not going to be giving this pricing back.
Crazy.
Now it's not a matter of can we take a price increase. Now it's about how much of a price increase are you going to take.
That is so disgusting.
Uh-oh. What are they going to say now?
Oopsies, they're not going to say anything because they don't need to, because we're just going to eat shit.
You're not going to believe this, but not only is greed...
You know what I might title this episode already? I think I have a great title. Sometimes I struggle to make these, but not today. We just keep eating it. And by it, you know what I mean. We just keep eating shit. I just can't say that in a YouTube title.
Not a conspiracy anymore. It is real and probably a good thing for the economy.
This is where, you know, when I'm at my job too, I see all these articles, and now that my eyes have been opened, number one, from my, you know, amazing media degree, and number two, from like going on TikTok and seeing this like stuff that I thought was conspiracy-esque. This shit, like the media does, is so fucking like blatantly like obvious, right? Oh, greedflation is probably good. This is where instead of just hiding it, they're gonna try and fool the majority of us, you know, which I don't blame them. A lot of us are stupid anyway. But this is where they're gonna try and fool us and be like, oh, is working overtime for free actually good for you in the long run? And the article would be like, oh, well, you know, it actually fosters a really good relationship with your boss, which is more likely to get you a promotion. No, bitch, they're gonna want to keep you in the same role because they know you're the bitch. Like, it's so stupid. These articles are so misleading, and they just go like directly opposite from like the facts. It's so crazy. I hate the media, and I fucking majored in it. It's crazy.
Says
So that's where I actually have credibility to say what I'm saying. I'm a media major, bitches.
Wall Street Journal. My point is, how can we possibly trust the mainstream media?
We can't.
Time and time again, they've shown that their main priority is not necessarily to report the real news.
The news that
it's
sells.
to protect their corporate donors.
And that
Let me show
too.
you why nobody trusts.
This is where back in the day, I mean, we saw the videos, you know, way back when in one of the older episodes where Henry Ford, he raised the price, or sorry, he raised the wages of his workers by like what, almost double or more than double. And all the news articles came out saying, oh my God, this guy's terrible. He doesn't understand economics. He's going to fail this, that. And then fucking the other car manufacturers that were his customers sued him. So it's like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy how the media will just be like so stark opposite to not only what's correct, but what I also think is morally right. This is where the media is just straight up evil. It fucking sucks. But anyway, really good first video here. Let's go next.
The media.
So now that UPS drivers are making
Oh.
$170,000 a year, are you thinking of switching careers?
So this is where I forgot if we saw it already, but you know, I'll just spoil the surprise here too. This is where, for a while in the previous episodes, we've been following the UPS strike that was supposedly going to happen. I mean, you know, at this point, you know, at time of recording this, it's September 7th. By the time I finish recording this, it's going to be September 8th. But I'm recording this on September 7th. This shit's long gone. This shit's old news at this point. But again, I forgot if I put the resolution here, but UPS basically won. The drivers won. to where they actually strike successfully. It got close, right? It got very close, similar to the economy almost defaulting, which lowers our credit rating, but which hurts everyone else. But this is where it got pretty close. But at the end of the day, UPS caved, and the UPS workers now got more stuff. Again, proving why labor unions are good. And I really wish the best to the freaking Writers Guild and stuff, the freaking movie people, because they're still in the thick of it.
How's that possible $170,000 a year feeling? This is going to take longer than a minute to explain, so let's go about this the right way.
Oh.
Now, $170,000 a year is a bit of an exaggeration here, but let me break it down for you. Now, I don't know about you, but I love factual information, so I'm going to do my best to just be transparent about the wages that we make. Under current contract, our wage is $41.51 an hour.
Bro, I can never dream of getting that high. I can't even dream of getting to $20 an hour. Like, that's crazy. And in New York, like, you can't live off $20 an hour. And I can't even, like, I don't even think I'm going to make above that.
Contract that has been seen all over social media. Once that contract ratifies, which is in the voting process right now, we'll be making $44.26 an hour. Now, if you do some quick math here, if you were to take $44.26 an hour times 2,080 hours, which is 40 hours a week, that comes out to about $92,000 a year. But that's not including overtime, and it's also not the important part that we're missing here. See, one of the other things that a lot of people don't take in consideration is our medical insurance and our pension. Now, our pension, don't quote me, but it's roughly somewhere between $11 and $13 per hour that's paid into our pension at the 2,080 hours, which comes out roughly about $25,000 a year. Now, you can figure the medical insurance at whatever you want, but you can quickly see that it would actually take about a $170,000 a year job to replace this one for me. Now, while the media is making it a little more profound than it really is, they're really not that far off of how amazing it is to work for this company.
Crazy.
So now that
I think that guy was on his break doing that. That's funny. He obviously doesn't want to lose his UPS job. But this is where, I mean, again, I'm just going to say the same shit. Labor unions for the win. And I find it pretty funny, right? So this is from what I'm assuming to be, not this guy over here, but I'm assuming to be this guy's an actual UPS worker. Now, granted, this could be some elaborate ruse, because as I always say in all my videos, because again, I'm going to repeat 90% of what I say always, this guy could be like playing dress up. This guy could have rented a van. He could have gotten pretty far, which in this day and age, people will actually go that far to fake stuff. And it's getting easier and easier sometimes, especially with, again, AI, but assuming he's not faking it, assuming, you know, the skeptic in me is not going crazy here, assuming this guy actually works for UPS, as I think he does, you know, we're hearing it from the horse's mouth. This is pretty good. Now, obviously, $92K annually, that's still really fucking good. And as this guy says in the comments here, they still deliver the package to the wrong place, which I find hilarious. I always give low-wage workers the benefit of the doubt, and, like, you know, it's okay for them to make mistakes, because especially in New York, if you're getting paid anything under $25 an hour, I really don't understand how you're expected to work at a competent level when you can't afford rent and you can't afford food, and you're basically getting shit on by just life at that point. Like, it really doesn't make sense to me how people can pay you like a substandard wage where you can't live and expect you to either A, be happy, or B, not be fucking depressed and want to, you know, off yourself and be like excited to go to work and do your job correctly when you're really not getting anything for it of value or of substance. It doesn't make sense. But you know, obviously this isn't the case for UPS. UPS, they make 92K, and you know, sometimes they still mess up, but it still is pretty good. This is where I hope everyone gets a union, especially me, because not only does it become harder to fire you, it always mostly favors the workers. But anyway, pretty nice video and a little update on the UPS strike, which is they won. So we did it, boys. We did it. AKA they did it.
There are a lot of reasons why rent is ridiculously high in homeowners.
Yeah, fucking insanely high.
Has declined in recent years, but there's one man who deserves special attention for his role in fueling the crisis.
Who is it? Who do we need to beat? Watch it be some bald rich asswipe who's white.
Steve Schwartzman.
Okay, he's not bald, but I was close. He looks like he's balding.
Schwartzman is head of the investment management firm Blackstone,
which I own stock in, and is a couple blocks away, or about a block away from BlackRock, which owns everything too.
And one of the largest corporate landlords in recent years. Their central business model revolves around something called the financialization of housing, which was made possible after a policy enacted after 2008.
Literally profiting off of catastrophe.
It goes something like this. according to the UN, who wrote an angry letter directly to Schwartzman, Blackstone and its subsidiaries focus on purchasing apartment buildings in undervalued neighborhoods, which often means properties in working-class communities.
Yes, the bourgeoisie.
Corporate landlord then refurbishes the buildings and increases rents, often exorbitantly, driving existing tenants out and replacing them with higher-income tenants. So
again, this is becoming a society for the rich, and I always bring out this example. Pretend insulin is $50 and 100 people can afford it. Excuse me. The whole point of insulin is supposed to be cheap, and it's supposed to mainly help people live, literally live, right? So you ideally, if you're thinking like a human being and not like a fucking number machine corporate businessman, you're going to want to get insulin to as many people as possible, as cheap as possible, if you actually care about human life. But if you just care about business and making money, you're getting it to 100 people at $50. So this is where you can increase the price to $75, but now only, let's just say 30 people can afford it. 30 people can afford it, and you're making, okay, maybe not 30. Let's just say 90. 90 people can now afford it. 10 less people can afford it when it was 50. But it doesn't matter, because overall you're making more money even though it's going to less people, because you're charging the rich who can afford it. This is where like economy or economics to me falls apart. Trickle down economics falls apart, because you can make something ridiculously like unaffordable, and the rich, or the idiot rich, can really just keep funding it to make it okay business wise, to where it floats and it works, where in actuality the majority of people who need it can't afford it. And it's really fucked up. Like, it really shows the weakness of like the rich can really just bend the rules for what should be for the rest of the society. The rich always fuck everything up, man.
So, a policy the government believed would be a way to get people into unused homes, thus stimulating the market, turned into a predatory lending scheme that charges people exorbitant rates, all without a hope of home ownership.
Wow.
In December 2012, Blackstone was spending $100 million a week on foreclosed properties.
A week.
And today,
the fact that they could do that every week, 100 million, like, bro. Again, we don't realize how much a billion is. A billion is so much money, and they have billions, as Trump would say. Billions.
Blackstone has raised rents in some units by 43 to 64% in the past 2 years.
That makes me want to vomit twice.
On top of this, Schwartzman in 2018 spent
This guy is one of the devils. I don't even want to say the devil, because there's so many other businessmen that are like him that are just straight up evil. They will sell your soul for a penny, like fucking Mr. Krabs.
$6.2 million to stop Proposition 10, a law that would end restrictions on rent control policies, effectively killing the chance of affordable housing in a lot of areas around LA.
So essentially, what did they do? They lobbied and controlled the rules of the government, as we've been showing that usually happens, that we just never know about.
Georgia even hosted monthly foreclosure auctions, which billionaires nicknamed Super Tuesdays.
Crazy.
In which Wall Street moguls and other people like Schwartzman would compete to buy as many homes as they could in the Atlanta area.
That's so disgusting. Because these homes, yeah, they're buying them, but what they're realistically doing is taking them ever out of the sights of people who are in the middle and lower class.
These actions did more than make a few rich men even richer. They displaced millions of people.
Yup, but that's the part they don't care about. As long as a few rich people get a little richer, like again, they make an extra billion, they don't care if, 5 million people are now homeless and in poverty and suffering and like are hating life. This is where I fully believe, and again, I always say it, I'm going to say 90% of the stuff I've already said, where eventually that 5 million is going to turn to 10, and then that 10 is going to turn to 20, and so on and so forth, until there's going to be so many people disgruntled and unhappy that something else is going to happen other than being disgruntled and unhappy. It's going to go further than that. Not that I'm advocating for that, I'm just saying what I think to be the course of action on the current basis of how stuff is happening.
As Aaron Glantz writes in his book Homewreckers, talking about the epidemic of foreclosure that has caused a cycle of poverty in black and brown areas around the country, quote, "They were the neighborhoods where vulture capitalists such as Tom Barrack and Steve Schwartzman did most of their buying. The result is that while the African American and Hispanic unemployment rates have fallen to historic lows in the economic recovery, the wealth gap between whites and people of color has grown to levels not seen since discrimination was legal." And
Jesus Christ. Since discrimination was legal. When these people were like slaves.
Segregation was encouraged by the government.
Bruh.
On top of this, these practices hike up prices for the middle class, drive gentrification, and make buying and renting homes in America so much harder than they already have been.
And this is where I'm scared, right? Because what if this becomes just the way of life? Because, again, the rich people control the rules and they don't care about us because they're not poor. This is where, what if it's the way of life where now society just comes to accept, yeah, there's just going to be 100 million people homeless at like all time. But, you know, us mega rich elite, like the upper class and stuff, we don't really care because we're fine and we're just making more money. Like, I really feel like if we accept things the way they are and the way they're going, like, we're just fucked. We're literally just fucked. And it's going to be such a sad life where hopefully those who are born in it, they're not going to, sadly enough, they're not going to realize how sad it is because they've never experienced something better. But that's even more sad, but at least they won't be sad, but in reality it'll be sad.
Now we know that Schwartzman's an asshole, but he's only part of the problem.
Of course. It's never just one devil, it's multiple devils.
But equity firms and corporations are able to exert undue influence on the American housing market because the government lets them.
Of course. Why would the government do anything for us anymore? They would never. The government was made by us for us back in the day. And again, the founding fathers, man, they'd be turning in our graves. You know what? I might title the episode that. Our founding fathers would be angry.
As the UCLA Institute for Inequality and Democracy argues, we find that corporate control of residential property is established and maintained through various strategies including dominance in the single-family rental market, mass acquisition of foreclosed properties, destruction of rent-controlled housing, and running eviction machines to displace tenants. We argue that housing grabs must be understood as state-sanctioned racial violence rather than as an aggregation of individual profit-making decisions by landlords. Housing grabs are enabled by policies of deliberate deregulation which also extend to financial lenders and the banking industry.
All just a big scheme where all the rich people are just in on it and they're making it like a whole game.
What is this deregulation and how does it perpetuate the housing crisis? That's in the next video.
Cool, and that's one we're not going to watch. But anyway, yeah, things are just fucked. I'm so glad, right? Now, obviously, as the skeptic in me always does, I really assume that I'm wrong with most of my things. You know, even my algorithm, I assume this is just biased towards me. It's like letting me see what I want to see. But also then going further and assuming that my assumptions are wrong and my skeptic is wrong, assuming that I might be right for once, imagine. It's really, really comforting to see that I'm not the only one who saw how fucked the world is, and these people are too, and they're trying to essentially do the same thing I'm doing, except they're doing it in a way better way that's actually respectable, where they're actually saying stuff about after doing their research. I'm just reacting. I'm just putting it all in one place, hopefully. But they're actually like saying stuff where, again, I thought by saying this stuff, I would be labeled as crazy. I'd be labeled as like conspiracy, and it just would look weird. But no, I really feel like, again, I'm being somewhat vindicated and somewhat like confirmed that I'm not fucking crazy, which I still think I am, but a little less so. So amazingly great video. It really shows us that, you know, one of the basic things that almost everyone needs, aside from food and water, which is shelter, is something that is just becoming almost unattainable. Even renting it, not even owning it, just renting it. It's fucking crazy.
So 11,000 garbage men are going on strike with the writers and actors in Hollywood now.
Let's go!
Why the hell would they do that?
It was Saturday, July 30th. A couple of hundred SEIU union members gathered for a march, a practice march to prepare for what's to come tomorrow, Tuesday.
We're expecting the first strike in the city of Los Angeles in more than 40 years.
Let's go!
Do you think it's because, maybe, this is just a guess, but all these studios just had their earnings call and everybody woke up and realized how greedy these blood-sucking Hollywood executives are?
And again, you know what I think the major difference is? Number one, right? The internet. I always say it. Again, I'm going to say 90% of the stuff I've said already. The internet was the great equalizer of information where now, before we literally didn't know this stuff was happening, now we know it's happening, right? And number two, my generation or the younger generations, they're not fucking putting up with this. If you're already indoctrinated and you're old, you're kind of just more apt to accept it because number one, you've had it good for a while, so you think like the young people are just complaining because you had it easy. But number two, when you grow up with this shit, you see how fucked it is and you want it to change because you're young, you're still spry and full of life.
Stick around because we've got Disney earnings now out. So Shauna walking us through those numbers there.
Yeah, Kiko, so let's get to the headlines here. Beating on EPS, $1.03. Estimate was for 99 cents. Revenue coming in just a bit light, $22.33 billion.
She said coming in at a little light.
Bruh.
At $22.3 billion with...
Yeah, that's a little light to them.
The fucking B.
And that's not even in a year. That's from a quarter. That's from 3 months, which... Like, hold on, I gotta rehear that. There's no way.
Just a bit light, 22.33 billion.
There's no way.
Kiko, so let's get to the head.
Yeah, look, Q3 revenue. So again, a quarter is 3 months. So in 3 months, these fuckers made
here,
how
beating
much?
on EPS, $1.03. Estimate was for 99 cents. Revenue coming in just a bit light, 22.33 billion.
22.33 billion. This is where I honestly question, will inflation go crazy enough to where those numbers aren't as impressive anymore? Because right now, those numbers are pretty fucking impressive. And look at what the comments say. I just looked at the comments. 22.3 billion in 1 quarter, and they raised the cost of Disney Plus. Why? Because that's how they're getting all these billions of dollars, because they're making us eat shit. That's why.
She said coming in at a little light at 22.3 billion with a fucking...
This shit is so crazy. I hope more and more a lot of people see how just bullshit this is and how we are in the dark dimension. I think if everyone realized how dark the dark dimension really is and that we're in it and we're not in the stupid light dimension where we could just hope and believe things are going to get better even if we do everything that they say we should do and everything. No, it's not, bitch.
B. Do you know what the unions were asking for in terms of concessions?
Let me guess. Just basic living amenities. Oh, can we just be able to make enough to live?
They were asking for about 300 million. For the whole year. Disney just cleared
not for the quarter?
22 billion in a quarter. And the actors and writers like, yeah, we're just trying to keep up with inflation and cover the rent. That 300 million is split between 7 different studios, by the way. Like, we're talking like Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Paramount.
This is where I question, right? Do these rich people want us to not even be in rent anymore? They want us to be just in permanent debt. So it's not enough we can't own anything. They want to have us on the rundle, the bundles, or sorry, the reoccurring subscription. I believe that's what it's called. I believe that's the rundle that was coined by Scott Galloway, which I learned about in media class. They would much rather have you on a monthly payment plan, or on a monthly reoccurring subscription, because it's more guaranteed than a one-time purchase. Because a lot of people, once they're on the subscription, they either forget about it or they just keep it on because they don't want to turn it off. So this is where they would much rather have you on a subscription.
Paramount, Universal, Disney. Like, Disney could clear the bill by themselves, but like, how greedy do you have to be like, oh yeah, you need less than 1% of my revenue so that the workers can cover rent?
No. Again, this is where they want them to not only just like not own anything and give you like reoccurring payments, they want you to be indebted to them because that's even more guaranteed. Because then if you actually get anything of value, they could just straight up take it. Most of the time.
Nah, I'll just wait till you guys starve and then come back to the negotiating table.
Ridiculous.
By the way, I never want to hear how smart or talented all these executives are to be in the position that they're in. Because, like, the union did all the heavy lifting when it comes to, like, the financial analytics to, like, figure out how much the company needs to cover their concessions. It's like Stormtrooper number 3 filled out a spreadsheet and was like, here you go, Bob Iger. Like, tell your CFO to take a look at this. Like, we're just trying to keep up with inflation and cover our bills so we can keep working for you. And, like, they took one look at the sheet and was like, we don't know how to do anything. We're just gonna get on our private jet that costs more than the shit that you're asking for and wait for you guys to starve so we can pay you less.
This is actually, like, it almost doesn't sound real how evil this is. And it's so ironic it's from Disney, too. Disney, I think I've said this before as well, Disney makes movies about, like, fairy tale fantasies, because at this point, some of the stuff we'd expect in real life is becoming a fairy tale fantasy. This is where, like, it just doesn't make sense how Disney, of all things, right? The places where they make movies about, like, the poor, like, stealing from the rich with Robin Hood, the poor, undervalued, underprivileged people, the underdog, somehow making it and getting the shot that they needed and making it from, like, poverty. But meanwhile, Disney is the exact ones they portray in their movies as the villain. They're the Disney villains. It's fucking crazy.
You think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. Disney cleared close to $3 billion for the quarter in 3 months after they paid for everybody else to make their shit. They had almost $3 billion of leftover money.
And I wonder where that's going.
Like, swear to God, these executives can't do basic arithmetic. Like, do you know how greedy or stupid you have to be fighting with your workers over less than 1% of your net revenues?
That's actually insane.
Just so they can eat something besides top ramen for dinner?
That's wild.
Like, if you ever thought there was an intelligence gap between the people running corporate America and yourself, I just want you to burn this image in your head. Because this is the face of an executive that can't do basic arithmetic, but thinks that, oh yeah, well, during the strike, I'm not spending any money making new shows. Not realizing everybody's gonna be watching K-dramas and anime, and people are gonna drop their subscription.
Damn fucking straight, let's go anime!
If you don't make any new shit!
This is where they have, like, even if they don't make new shit, right? It's not going to hurt them momentarily. It's going to hurt them a little bit longer in the long run. But overall, even if they don't make new shit, they've made so much shit out there. They're still going to have money coming in. Again, not great amounts of money, especially over time, but Disney is so massive. They have so many movies and other stuff going on with merch and stuff. They really aren't going to take too much of a hit from this. And it's sad. It really is sad. I think the majority of Disney's revenue comes from like the amusement parks or something. I actually don't even know, but we're not going to search it now.
Like, the strike's gone on for 100 days and cost both the studios and the state of California billions. Like, they were asked...
Which again, if it's costing them billions but nothing's changing, is billions even a lot anymore? I don't think it is.
For 300 million. Oh, but no, these guys are so good at fucking business, right? So 11.
This is crazy. Wow, we're really hitting hard with these Dark Dimension videos, man. Today we're starting strong. We're showing how things are really fucked. Business side. Dude, businessmen are so evil, it's actually crazy. Like, it makes me feel so bad, because there's people like me who blame themselves, and it's like, should we really be blaming ourselves when this is what we have to deal with? The entire deck stacked against us. Excuse me. It's so fucking crazy. And I like the little description this guy put. CEO logic. If I don't drive anywhere, I don't have to spend money on gas. Well, yeah, no fucking duh, but then you're not going anywhere. But yeah, really great video. Holy shit, let's go next.
I'm being completely...
Oh, fuck, did I skip one?
11.
No, I didn't. Okay, cool.
I'm being completely radicalized by the rental housing market right now.
Yeah, so am I.
Hi! I'm a New York City landlord-tenant attorney, meaning I represent tenants that are being
God, attorneys make so much stupid money, it's so insane.
Sued by their landlord in housing court. You don't even know how bad it is right now. So my clients are assigned to me through the court, and they have to meet a certain threshold of poverty, like 200% below the poverty line.
Yeah, and let's see, because I've talked about this as well. What they consider the poverty line is, number one, outdated as fuck, and number two, if you're above the poverty line by 200, I don't think that's enough. Like, I don't think that's enough money to even hit minimum in New York. Because it's federal, right? So in some places federally, the minimum wage is still $7.25 somehow, which, you know, in New York, that's literally like, you might as well just shoot yourself, and it's actually cheaper probably. But this is where, like, I don't understand how they're using this outdated system. Everyone knows it's outdated, but like with the regular people of society, the government sees this and they just don't care either.
These numbers are set by the federal government, who think that anyone making over $34,000 as a single person is not in poverty level.
Crazy.
The amount of people that are coming in that are making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000,
bro, I'm not even making 40,
and are being evicted or...
Huh? See, at that point, I kind of question, like, are they kind of spending too much? Because I make very little, and I try and be as cheap as possible. Granted, I don't think a lot of people could live the way I live, especially with the sleep I get, but I live very cheaply to where I can't really afford food, right? But I somehow make it work by buying very cheap. I'm very conscious with my spending, right? This is where, if you're making 60, 70, 80 and you're getting evicted, I honestly do question, and maybe a little bit comes from jealousy, of like, how can you have that much more money, you're making that much more money than me, and you can't survive when I'm out here doing it with so little? Granted, I'm living like a fucking gremlin, but like, you know, like, I feel like these people are spending a little exorbitantly. And I've noticed the more money people get, especially in the people in my job, the more money you get, the more just, like, indifferent or, like, kind of bad you are with spending. Because you just don't care. You don't... I'm not going to say you don't understand the value of money, but, like, money loses its value to you when you have so much of it. And that's where we get to the place of the CEOs where they have so much of it, they don't even want to part with less than 1% of it because they become Mr. Krabs.
Or are unable to afford rent is shocking. Landlords are literally raising prices like $500, $1,000, $1,500 over the course of like 1 month. And crazy. I'm not in Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, or Queens. I'm in Staten Island.
Bronx used to be cheap.
Like, no one fucking wants to live here. Yet you would not believe how expensive housing has become. Like, there are literally 1-bedroom apartments in Staten Island that are going for like $2,000, $2,500. I have a colleague that lives with me who's trying to move out, and she can't afford to live on Staten Island. But it's so insane how much these landlords are jacking up prices. And it's even more insane that we have to turn away people who are making like $60,000, $70,000.
Insane.
Coming from a family of 4. Because
if I did not live with my family, which, you know, I'm very thankful for, like, if I did not live with them, I literally would not be able, I think 90% of, like, landlords would not let me in and not give me a place to stay because I simply just make too little money. They wouldn't even understand how I'm living, let alone how I'm going to be able to pay rent.
Because we're telling them, hey, I'm sorry, you make too much money for us. The housing market is terrible, let alone trying to buy a house. Like, forget it. Like, that's never going to happen for millennials.
It's a fairy tale fantasy.
But even
right
renting
there
is so ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, let me make that a potential title too. Fairy tale fantasy. Crazy.
That some people have to decide whether to put food on their tables or pay rent.
Yeah, and at that point, I hope the people prioritize, getting food.
And it's only going to get worse. And of course, we have a mayor that cares jack shit because he himself is a landlord.
Of course.
And only cares about raising prices.
Of course. And this is where in the past we saw a video of a person, namely, a white woman, telling Mayor Adams, like, hey, you said you were going to do something about the rent. You did nothing and it went up. What the fuck? And then he made it about race and didn't answer the question.
And what gets me is the audacity of these 90-year-olds sitting in Washington, D.C., who have like 5-6 houses that they bought for like $10,000.
Yeah, and they also freeze up for 30 seconds at a time because they don't remember where they are.
In 1970, saying that people making $34,000 or $60,000 or $50,000 are not in poverty.
You know what I don't understand? This is a little bit of an off topic, but going back to the government people, like Mitch McConnell and them, right? These are the people who make our laws who, again, are like freezing up and I guess having like strokes or something, on live TV and stuff. I don't understand how they can live. Well, I could kind of, because I guess they don't care because they have like hearts of like pure ice. But this is where, does Mitch McConnell realize once he passes away and or retires, people are actually going to be happy? Like, there's going to be so many people who are happy that he's gone. Is that the legacy you want to live behind? Is that what's worth it? Like, I'm pretty sure in the short term, or maybe even in the long term, he might not give a shit. He might be like, I don't care how I'm remembered. I made my bag. I got what I got. And, like, I lived the life I wanted with power and not wanting for anything. So maybe at that point, he really just doesn't care. But it would bug me if the main thing I'm remembered for is, like, just being evil and bad, where people would cheer for my death or my resignation. Like, that doesn't sit right with me.
Which is absolutely bananas.
Yep, bananas. BANANAS. But yeah, rent is fucking crazy. Yo, really, really good TikToks for starting off with. Damn, another fire one. Super hot fire. Very good. Let's go next. Again, we're hearing it. This is where this guy could actually fake being an attorney more than the UPS driver.
This Republican...
Oh, shit. We don't know if this guy's an actual lawyer. Who knows? But, assuming it's true, we're hearing it from the horse's mouth again. Fucking crazy. Let's go next.
This Republican senator lives...
Okay, see, look, this is the image of the evil, like, rich CEO I talked about before. Bald, old, white. There he is.
In a $30 million mansion. It has 8 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, a tennis court, and a dock for his $10 million yacht. He even bought a $50 million private jet just to commute back and forth to work every day. Rick Scott makes most of his money through insider trading, and every time he makes a trade...
Something that should be fucking illegal.
I make a trade. And to be honest, he's even better than Barack Obama. Go to boardsfinance.com if you want to see these trades.
Okay, so, this guy isn't paying me. I'm not sponsored by him or anything, but there's so many of these different people where, again, the skeptic in me is coming out saying, if it's this easy, right, where these people could just track these things, why isn't everyone doing it? Is it the case where, like, just no one knows about it? Or is it the case where, like, it's not as easy as it seems? So I would definitely caution against doing what this guy's saying. But the beginning part is the important part where, again, insider trading is happening. These people are getting rich way more so than their salaries are paying them. And it's through what I deem to be morally wrong and illegal methods, and everyone knows about it, but no one can even change it or stop it. Why? Because the people in power are the ones benefiting off this, so they're not going to change it because they're the only ones who could. You know, at least as long as things are the way they are now. So it's really sad, but yeah, it is what it is. Let's go next.
Good morning, bad news.
No bad news.
Episode, we're going to be talking about the best year to have been born and why our generation did not make the cut.
Millennials and Gen Z are the poorest generations in U.S. history. Not only do they have less money than any generation before them at their age, but
look at us. You saw us all the way down there?
By comparison, they also have the lowest average wages, exponentially more debt, no
yes, that's what I like.
financial mobility,
amazing,
statistically no savings in general, and
let's go. I remember this statistic. I always bring up 60% of the population, only $1,000 in the bank.
For that matter, almost no benefits like healthcare or
and more over time, more people will be in poverty, more people will be homeless, but it's still not at a breaking point number where it doesn't care, or it doesn't matter because the rich people don't care until it hits a breaking point. Which is sad that that's the reality.
Sick leave. At the same time, we're paying the highest rent and childcare costs in history, and
Lovely.
Nearly all members of both generations have been entering the workforce during the worst economic crises we've seen since the Great Depression.
The pathway to real estate or business ownership used to be very doable for the average person. Today, you need to be very lucky, very privileged, or willing to accept significantly worse living or working conditions to accomplish the same thing. Actually, more millennial households are in poverty than any other generation. Home ownership alone gives me so much anxiety. I feel like I accepted long ago that I'll probably never own a home.
And again, this is where, like, I think this acceptance, I don't necessarily blame them for it, but at that point, once you accept it, you're just going to keep taking it up the bum and nothing's going to change. It's so sad. It's so fucking crazy. Look at this. Look at this comment right here, right? Look at these comment sections. I'm 32 and have accepted that the only house I will ever have is in The Sims. This is where another thing that's similar to this is people getting pets. People are getting pets and essentially treating them like their children because that's cheaper than having a child. And let's not even go into the fact of the whole dating scene and the whole dynamic between men and women nowadays. Ignoring that hard fact, which, you know, spoiler alert, that's terrible too. At this point in time, we just don't have enough money to have children. Which, you know, that's a big issue coming later down the line, but I guess we'll tackle that when we need to, because that's the way our country operates. Right when things are about to burn, that's when we put it out. So that's crazy. All while the huge corporations keep making record profits every year. And then this guy's my favorite. But the bootstraps, because that's what we pull ourselves up by. Anyway, really good video. Let's go next.
Will fungi take over humanity?
Whoa.
Far, most infectious fungi are not able to survive inside of us.
Let's go.
This is due to our relatively high body temperature of about 37 degrees Celsius.
Oh, damn,
Global warming,
high.
however, might change this.
Oh,
With
no.
rising temperatures, fungal diseases appear more frequently all over our planet. For example, the previously
Speaking
unknown
of
and highly
fall.
transmissive Candida auris leads to thousands of cases worldwide. About 1/3 of those infected eventually die. But higher temperatures are also allowing fungi to mutate more often. Scientists
God.
are already warning that as global warming worsens, we're opening Pandora's box.
Was that
Inside,
Toad?
we might find new types of fungi that are resistant to heat and lead to more severe diseases.
Bruh.
Furthermore, fungi share similarities with our own human cells, which makes it difficult to develop new drugs or vaccines. Since serious fungal diseases in humans are still relatively rare, doctors are mostly not trained to recognize such infections, so to avoid a scenario we all saw in The Last of Us, we should proactively search for preventive measures.
I'm glad they brought up The Last of Us, because that's the main thing everyone thinks of now when they say, like, the fungus. But, yeah, this is crazy. Also, why the fuck is Hatsune Miku in the comment section? 1/3 of people eventually die, so you mean that 2/3 of those people become immortal? That's not how things work. But yeah, no, this is crazy. So if it's not economically, it's going to be some other way we're getting fucked. This is where I mostly focus on the economics of things, especially recently. But that's not to say that's the only avenue that's dark. Every avenue is dark, and there's a lot more than we think in this dark dimension. But yeah, so again, if it's not going to be money, it's going to be something else. Maybe mushrooms, but who knows. Next!
The amount of stock trading that's done by members of Congress, the amount of fucking money that they make when they know decisions that are going to be signed and passed, they know laws that are going to be put into place. They know.
They make millions of dollars every single year trading based on information that nobody has access to. You do know that they're legally required to disclose their stock trades to us, right? I get into the same trades that they do, and I make a lot of money doing it. I'm sending trade alerts to anybody that wants them on my website, borsfinance.com, and every trade that is made is based on politicians' corrupt trading history. Politicians, baby, they're making us money.
The amount?
Crazy. Again, if this is so popular, if this is so good, I feel like this thing should have exploded, but it didn't. It really does seem like a garage quick scheme, but again, this doesn't take away from what they're saying, which, like I said before, is still true. There's so much insider trading in Congress, it's actually crazy. Anyway, let's go next.
Every time I go walk through that door, I don't know if I'm going to come out in a body bag.
Oh my god.
That's Tony, and believe it or not, he works here.
Oh shit.
There is a great energy, and you see that from
the energy of the soul
on your first day.
Oh.
We're like a family here.
Yo, I hate that fucking quote. We're like a family here. Yeah, a family would never. Well, actually, yeah, it would. I was gonna say a family would never do some of the stuff a workplace does to its family or does to its coworkers. But this is where it, I personally have experience with this, and I know a lot of other people who do as well. Your family could end up fucking you even worse than almost anyone else can.
Electric battery manufacturing company in Lordstown, Ohio, a once great manufacturing town abandoned by corporate America.
Lovely.
Thanks to massive investment in electric vehicle manufacturing from Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act, jobs are returning to Lordstown. But the reality on the ground is a lot more grim.
So old.
It is not a great place to work. If you
Wow, what a surprise.
For producing the product that they so rave about. That's so great. And
this is where, again, the more and more I think about it, the more and more, I don't want to say this because it sounds so against what people believe normally, or most people, but this is where capitalism really is about just extracting as much worth as you can out of the worker for the owner. I feel like the owner, if you ever can, obviously aside from the stress and the overhead and everything, the responsibility, becoming an owner of something is the best thing you could do because you're going to get the most benefit for some of the least work.
This is the future. There's a dirty behind the scenes that's going on to get to that future.
Crazy.
Here at Altium.
At least 22 people suffered injuries or illness at the plant in just the first 5 months of 2023.
Wow.
Most recently, Tony's department was closed for an air quality inspection mandated by the Environmental Protection Agency.
Bruh.
Despite mounting evidence of safety hazards at the plant, workers who voice concerns about conditions often face severe consequences.
I have seen several members in mixing, in our cathode mixing department, that were retaliated against by management for raising a grave safety issue in their department. They were all suspended and an investigation without pay.
Oh, without pay, even better. Fucking evil.
Which brings us to another problem, the pay. GM teamed up with LG to create a separate company called Altium.
Oh.
That way they don't have to honor the UAW contract at GM.
Crazy.
There are unionized
Another stupid workaround.
auto workers who, through decades of struggle, have won middle-class wages and benefits. A typical unionized powertrain assembly worker, for example, earns about $60 an hour in wages and benefits.
Altium workers, by contrast, start at $16.50 an hour.
It was just like a slap in the face, like an "Are you kidding me?" moment. I'm out here doing this dangerous job for you, and you're not even going to compensate me properly for it.
And that is the biggest thing that I mentioned before. People are realizing, what's the point? Why stress out? Why work hard if we're not getting anything worthwhile for it?
People are frustrated.
Damn straight they are.
People are tired.
God knows I am.
And people are ready to fight back.
God, I hope they are.
Because this company is driving them further and further to the bottom.
It is, but it's not just them, it's all the big companies. But anyway, amazing video. Dude, this whole night is just confirming what I say. This is crazy. This is good. Let's go next.
Overwatch 2 is not doing well, and Blizzard just admitted it. This is their quarterly earnings report. This shows that Blizzard has less monthly active users now than before Overwatch 2 launched. And this is with Diablo 4 helping them. That is so fucking bad. Now, part of this is due to losing the Chinese market, but they also stated specific interest in Overwatch 2 has decreased sequentially this quarter, meaning it's been on a steady decline as PvE news and Season 5 came out. I think it's pretty transparent. They pissed a lot of people off, but there is hope on the horizon. Overwatch 2 is moving to Steam in Season 6.
Yeah, and just a little spoiler alert about this, because this is pretty old. It moved to Steam. I think it became one of the worst, if not the worst, downvoted game in all of Steam history.
And it has the potential to bring in a massive chunk of new players to juice up the game's development. But I talked about that in another TikTok. Go check it out. Overwatch.
Crazy. So a lot of people might be wondering why I included this in the Dark Dimension series. I simply included this because I like games, and it shows even in games things are getting fucked too. So yeah, I think that's pretty important. But anyway, let's go next.
Did you finish all your work? Yeah, I figured I'd knock it out so I can chill for the rest of the day.
Bro, this is crazy. All these TikToks tonight are so accurate and they're hitting so good. It's actually wild. This is me at work, and this is my dream.
I think you're the...
Well, aside from streaming at Twitch TV/Tecnics channel. Let me lower the volume a little bit. This is quite loud.
Fastest, most efficient employee here.
And you know what you get for being the most fastest and efficient? More work.
Thanks. Does that mean I get a reward? Yes. Finally, you don't know how long I've been waiting for that pay raise. So how much we talking? A couple of George Washingtons? No. Ooh, more than that. You think a little Abe Lincoln $5 raise? It's not a raise. Oh, you're gonna let me leave early. Well, I wasn't finished watching my show, but alright, I'll see you tomorrow then.
Crazy.
No, it's not.
I don't know how he had the gall to do that in front of the boss, but obviously it's not the boss, it's just him. But I think it's crazy people who do that, who do not care. I'm getting to that point in my job too.
That either. So you're gonna give me a promotion and send me to training so I can develop managerial skills and become a supervisor because I earned it?
No.
Okay, yeah, because that doesn't sound like something you would do. So what's my reward? I have another task for you. That sounds more like you. So my reward for being good at my job is actually a punishment to do more work? Yo, I'm giving you another opportunity to demonstrate your skills.
And this is how they get you. They say bullshit like this.
Well, you can miss me with that opportunity, especially if a pay raise doesn't come with it. But you're finished with all your work. Now that I think about it, I got a couple things I gotta do. But on the bright side, you get to keep the reward and do the task.
See, this is where, like, I follow this mantra of you pay me this much, which is not enough to really eat, you know, and I'm not spending extravagantly, like I said. I just spend stuff on, like, random nonsense, but, like, food, at most. Everything else I buy on sale. This is where it's like, bruh, how the fuck, like, how is this shit allowed? It just doesn't make sense.
Reward and do the task.
This is where, again, for my job, I try and take as long as I possibly can for stuff because I'm still getting the same pay. Why am I going to break my back over? But also, my job is very corrupt, so it doesn't even matter what I do. Anyway, pretty good video. I'm pretty sure I've sent myself this guy more in the future, but I guess only one way to really find out, huh? And that's to keep it going.
Is humanity doomed?
Yes.
A feeling of imminent apocalypse, anxiety, and hopelessness are the symptoms of a pessimistic view of the future called doomerism.
Hey, I have that.
In fact, good news is pretty hard to find, with pandemics and wars raging, climate change and world hunger looming over us, and inequality and extremism limiting us.
I mean, this is where there's good news, it's just good news doesn't sell. The media picked up pretty quickly that the best news to have is always going to be bad news because people love it. And it's sad, but again, it shows us why we're sick animals on the inside.
But giving up is the worst first step to change ever. Humanity is built on progress, and right now, we're experiencing the fastest rate of progress ever.
Yeah, and this is where we're such at a crucial point where, like, if we don't do it right here, when is the next point where we're going to be able to do it? Who the fuck knows?
A person that's 60 years old today has lived through many achievements. Innovations in medicine have increased the expected lifetime of humans by 41%. The number of liberal democracies has almost doubled. Sustainable energy has become cheaper in just 10 years. Since the beginning of the 21st century, the number of children out of school has gone down 31%. We're living in the future of many past generations. Some of their choices have led to our current problems, but most have resulted in us being way more capable of shaping our own future than they were.
Yeah, for the rich, maybe.
It's up to us. Will we stay on that course or give up because we wonder,
Yeah, it's not really up to us, it's up to the rich. Pretty alright video, but definitely the weaker of the bunch. No, I exited this by accident. Fuck. Where were we? Hold on. There we
Is
go.
humanity doomed?
Let's go next.
Oh my god, this is so bad. Our birth rates are declining significantly, and the youngsters are not responding to the $5,000 offer to have kids.
Just imagine your government will pay you money to make children.
Oh, I'd love to live in Japan someday and have kids. Oh my god, thank you so much. Although you're gonna have to lift the dual citizenship ban. Why? Well, I had to give up my Japanese citizenship because y'all don't allow dual, and I need to be Japanese to live there and have kids, right? Yeah, we're not gonna do that.
Yep, another
You know,
thing that
beggars
just makes
can't be
sense.
choosers.
Exactly, bro. It's crazy. It's like, oh, do you guys want to work for us and do this thing, or do you want to help us on this thing? Yeah, sure. Okay, well, give up like your soul. And we're like, wait, what? I know it's not 1-to-1, but it's the quickest thing I could think of. My mind's fucking tired. Anyway, yeah, just more examples of just how fucked society is. The biggest example of this is in jobs where they're like, oh, entry-level job. The worst thing I've ever seen, I think I mentioned this too, the worst thing I ever saw while job searching was, oh, this is an entry-level job. You need a master's degree to get in, and you're getting paid $15 an hour, which is minimum. It's like, bro, what the hell are you asking? Yeah, the government, not only in the U.S. is stupid, but apparently in Japan, they're a little iffy as well. Anyway, pretty good. Let's go next.
When a bill was introduced that would ban politicians from trading stocks,
Let me guess, they didn't want to pass it because it would ban them from essentially making money.
Tommy Tupperville said, I think it's ridiculous. I think it would really cut back on the amount of people that would want to serve here.
Oh, so what? You can't serve there unless you're like profiteering off of something illegal?
And come on, that should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, come on.
Just over the past year, Tommy
Hey, look, it's this guy again.
traded a volume of $13 million between only 362 trades. This means on average, Tupperville made a trade almost every single day for the whole year.
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of people could do that because number one, I believe that's considered day trading, but I'm not too sure. But also number two, the more money you have to put in, the more money you're potentially going to get out. So people with $20 aren't going to be millionaires. All I'm saying.
Does this guy even know what his job is? Luckily for us, though,
Well, I hope so, because some of them don't even know how to turn a fucking computer on.
we get to use their corruption for our benefit. You can learn more at borsfinance.com.
Crazy. I wonder if Boris Finance has like a sub or something, or like a paid thing. It probably does, realistically. But anyway, yeah, more examples of insider trading, which to me is one of the most egregious things ever. And I still don't understand how it's allowed in our government. That should be a shame. Maybe let's go next.
Employees are no longer allowed to quit.
This is a PSA for Gen Alpha. When you start getting into the workforce, you're gonna need to know just a couple things. The 2-week notice system is built off of nothing. It is boomer, oingo, boingo, honor system bullshit.
And I believe it.
If your job is
Oingo boingo. Is that a JoJo's reference?
treating you poorly, you don't have to do anything. The only time that you probably should give a 2 weeks notice is if you like all of the people that you work with, especially the managers, and you are leaving due to completely separate reasons, like you're moving, for example.
I mean, I don't know if you could delay the move, but this is where I've definitely adopted the mentality of this is sort of like tipping, right? So tipping is a little bit of a niche example because tipping, it's sort of like culturally too, like what's expected and what are the rules around tipping because tipping exists, where they can skirt around like what the minimum wage is, which is fucking ridiculous. But this is where, let me just see what this guy was saying behind here.
For reasons like you're moving for.
Yeah, this is where for me personally, I'm never gonna give my 2 weeks again unless I actually respect the company.
Managers will try, for example. Now, important note, some managers will try to allude to some kind of consequence if you do this.
Yeah, and this is where my managers tried to steal my COVID sick pay.
That's called a vague threat. It's a complete lie. Don't listen to it. Now,
Wow.
one thing that they're going to kind of hold over you is, oh yeah, you can't use this job as a reference because we're going to say that you quit.
See, there's a lot of fear tactics that these places use to try and like keep you in the job just to exploit you for longer. Because there's probably a high turnover rate.
Get a fake phone number, put the fake phone number, and when they call the fake phone number, just don't answer it. Boom.
Yep. This is where the majority of jobs I've seen that I've applied to as well, they never really ask you for your past. Now, I've heard it's mostly government jobs that do that, but even then, those aren't plentiful and going around like crazy. So, The majority of people, the stupid referencing is another thing that's just outdated in job applications that just doesn't make sense.
Also, ending note, an important thing that everyone should know, it is always fine to talk about wages with other employees. If your managers say that you can't...
Lying, it's illegal.
That's illegal.
Yep. This is where it's really sad to see the first-hand effects of the culture of this, because I really do feel like it's from the bosses that talking about your wage and stuff was deemed like bad. And there's obviously bads in it that I think more delve into the realm of like mental illness for the person. Like it's always there, just we're noticing it with talking about wage. But this is where employers will try everything in the book to try and get you to not do what's like best for you, because that's not what's best for them. Even though it could have a, you know, a middle ground where the things are just good for both, but that probably equals to like, you know, 1 less billion than the 13. So the rich people aren't gonna like that. But yeah, this is fucking crazy, where even in my job, the people are so like whipped by the culture of don't share your wage. It's like I proudly share, well, not proudly, but I share my wage with everyone just so they know like how little they pay me, my company. But the other people don't want to share because I don't know, I guess they're scared or something. Because I think the biggest idea that was perpetrated that people now have in their mind is like, oh, if you tell me your paycheck and I make more money than you, it's gonna make things weird. And I feel like that's just a person per person thing.
You can always talk about your wages with other employees. And that's part of the National Labor Relations Act. Read the National Labor Relations Act of 1935.
And that's where this guy fucked up. He wants us to read, and many people don't want to read.
You have rights. Know them.
Yeah, most people don't, which is why Vivek Ramaswamy wants to make a civics test. Anyway, really good video. Let's go next.
Baldur's Gate 3 is so insanely good, it's causing other developers to panic over their incomplete games.
This was so insane, by the way.
Baldur's Gate 3 just launched and it's now the highest reviewed game of the year over Tears of the Kingdom.
Insane.
But what really makes this game special, besides the story and characters, is that it doesn't have a single missing feature. It also has no bugs, no microtransactions, and most importantly, no battle pass.
This sounds fake.
This is a complete game, something we rarely see anymore. And now, other developers are starting to panic. Destin Legary
This is crazy.
from IGN just released a video on this topic that you should definitely check out. But basically, some developers out there are bashing Baldur's Gate 3, claiming the game is ridiculous in scope and is setting unrealistic expectations that should not be used as a raised standard for other games in the future.
AAA gaming studios are saying that actively have more money than the creators of Baldur's Gate 3.
Basically telling us we should be okay with incomplete games at launch.
Crazy.
Like Halo Infinite not having co-op and Forge on day one. Or broken games like Cyberpunk 2077, which took more than a year to get fixed. And
Crazy too.
And Jedi Survivor, which had terrible frame rate issues across PS5 and PC, ruining the experience for a lot of people.
Yep. That was a whole controversy in and of itself.
It feels like money has become more important than making a great and complete video game. Baldur's Gate.
But yeah, this is where even in the video game industry, right? Because I like to show the dark dimension permeates through a lot of different things of you know, different walks of life. This is where we finally got something that's actually good. And look what happens. It's the same thing that the media does too. The gaming outlets, instead of the media this time, which I guess you could consider the media too, but just to differentiate the two. Excuse me. The common people media, like the news and stuff, versus the gaming media, they're the same shit. They're going to tell you something's bad when it's actually good. Baldur's Gate 3 coming out raised it didn't even raise the standard, it returned it to where it used to be. And the fact that like developers are now getting scared saying, oh, we can't do this. No, you don't want to do this because it's not the most cost efficient. Again, they're going to make 9 billion instead of 13 billion, but what does that matter? It's so fucking crazy. Anyway, let's go next.
A3 is so insane.
This may be a hot take, but apparently if I stand over you, talk confidently, and do something with my hands, such as ironing, my video is going to go viral.
This is where he's not necessarily wrong. I thought it was more people are going to trust you, and like psychologically speaking, like you're just more apt to be heard if you look like you're a position in authority and you're really good at bullshitting confidence. I think that just works so well in the world.
So as an allergist, I'm going to tell you confidently that it's time for most people to move on from diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl. This is a first-generation antihistamine. It's an older medication that most people think to use for allergy issues or allergic reactions to food or drugs, but in reality, it's also an anticholinergic medication, meaning it blocks the effects of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. And recent
Yo, this is too complicated for my sleep-deprived mind. I'm like falling asleep to this.
studies, long term, have shown an association between chronic Benadryl use and the development of dementia. This medication is not benign, even though it's sold over the counter.
Crazy.
There are newer
Another example of our government failing. Something so common as Benadryl actually causeless damage, and it's not being recalled. Those are just so lazy. Again, showing dark dimension even in games.
classes of antihistamines such as Zyrtec, Claritin, Xyzal, and Allegra that are safer to use because they don't have that anticholinergic effect nearly to the same extent. So at this point, what are you waiting for?
I don't even know anymore. Jesus Christ.
This may be a hot take, but apparently if I stand over...
But yeah, pretty crazy video. This is where, again, society has its stuff where it either makes someone rich or we're so used to it. Either the rich don't want us to let it go or we simply don't want to let it go. Wild. Anyway, let's keep going.
An entire police force in a town in Minnesota has just resigned. The 1,300 residents of Goodhue, Minnesota are set to be left without law enforcement after the entire team handed in their resignation over poor pay. What's even crazier is that the police chief said that he hasn't had a single person apply to fill in the vacancies.
And that's where I always question this too. When people quit, do they not think like there's going to be a new worker drone in to come replace them? But apparently in Goodhue there wasn't. This is crazy.
The $22 per hour job. All 7 police officers are set to leave on the 24th of August, unless, according to the police chief, something changes drastically and dramatically. An entire...
So this is where I think there's some jobs where, again, like McDonald's, right? Take McDonald's. McDonald's, you probably make minimum, but you do so much more work than most other jobs out there that make more than you. And I kind of see it the same thing as police. Police are literally out there risking their lives having an annoying job where now almost everyone hates them. Where at this point they're like, okay, what's it worth? It's not worth much. Let's just leave. And again, I thought worker rents would kind of replace them, but apparently they didn't. But I don't think we're going to get a follow-up to this video, so... This is actually like crazy. Let's go next.
Breaking news! Dozens of criminals stole up to $100,000 in goods from a shopping mall in Los Angeles.
Oh, so they stole like 0.0001 of wealth.
Hutch Perkins has more on the story.
California police said a mob of criminals stole up to $100,000 worth of items from a Los Angeles mall this past weekend.
Nordstrom. I wonder if that's the actual mall.
Video footage posted by police shows several people wearing black masks and clothing running out of the store with merchandise, including duffel bags, purses, and other bags.
They can't stop them all.
The people who stole from Nordstrom must be held accountable, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said in a statement. A similar incident happened earlier in the week in the Los Angeles area when at least 30 people flooded the YSL store in Glendale last Tuesday and stole about $300,000 worth of clothing and other merchandise.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Many big-name retailers have talked about missing inventory more this past quarter than any quarter on record. To combat shoplifting, retailers are introducing strategies such as shorter store hours, self-servicing locking cabinets, or smart shopping carts.
Breaking news!
Bruh, it's just so crazy. I don't think, like, aside from, like, the big stopgaps, or not stopgap, a lot of these solutions are just stopgaps, but this is where, until things get a lot better in society, especially economically, I think these things are just going to keep happening, if not worse with the way things are going. And I like how the common people, especially in the chat, they know what's right and what's wrong and what's up. They know this shit ain't right. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, let's go next. Again, this is showing that, again, not only in the United States, but in other places too, places are fucked. Sometimes way more than us too. Excuse me. Anyway, let's go next.
Look around.
Okay, this is where, ironically enough, we've been at this for about a little over an hour. This is where I would say, just because I'm so fucking sleepy and tired, and because I actually feel like we made it through a decent amount, I think we'll stop here. I think we'll stop here because we'll start with like the 10-minute fucking slugfest video next time. So we're just gonna like this here. But I think we're making great progress. We're literally up to the 18th. So a week from now, which will be the 15th when we're gonna record again. Or sorry, a week from now is well, no, it technically is the 15th. we're actually going to be for sure less than a month behind. So we are catching up. And like I said, I'm also slowing down too, but we're going to ignore that part. But anyway, we're finally done with the TikToks. I can rest my weary head. I hope everyone enjoyed. And remember, Twitch TV/Technics channel, this is all a big ad for that. And if you want anything sent to me, please send it to Tecnics. And then if it's good enough, I'll send it here. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Hope everyone enjoyed. Eee!